That's carried. We'll move on to the Chief Executive's report.
Great. Excuse me, I'll take the report as read, but would just like to sort of highlight a few things in that report. One, want to highlight the work that's been done on the Community Governance Partnership, and particularly the signing of the Community Governance Partnership agreement that was just done between Council and Community Board chairs today. I think that work in that partnership agreement really reflects this Council's approach, which is about decisions being made as closest to the people affected as possible, and that giving citizens and communities an opportunity to influence the decision making and the programs and activities that happen. That agreement's been a lot of work and a lot of conversations between Community Board and Council, and also Council staff. So I want to really highlight that sort of really landmark signing of the agreement today. I also want to sort of highlight the implementation of the sustainability procurement framework, which, as you know, it was driven by the Council and your desire to actually make sure our procurement reflected the four well-beings, and so that wider costs and benefits can be assessed in our procurement decisions. Probably also just mention the number of capital projects across both the vertical capital and the horizontal capital that continue to be recognised both nationally and internationally. And we're very aware that because of the risk management and the desire for transparency, often what Council sees and what the public see when there are issues or risks associated with projects. But in actual fact, outside this, the Council projects and our Council project teams are held in incredibly high esteem, both across the city, the country and internationally, and there's been some significant achievements in that area. Also just want to note all the work that happens outside those projects and programs, so they don't get highlighted, don't get recognised, but the work that's being done in this organisation by staff. You see 50,000 calls coming into our call centre every month. There's numerous social media interactions and a range of comms activity that's just happening and is repeating every day. A huge amount of work across our regulatory teams and also our support teams and corporate services teams. So, huge effort, often unrecognised, but just continues at a massive and increasing rate. And then lastly, just do want to highlight the number of community events that we hold, and most of them in partnership with communities, so that's across recreation parks, libraries, communities, V-Base, and that these events, as well as providing fun and opportunities, to learn with people, they're also building social capital in our community. They're about social capital and social cohesion, and they're about actually communities being part of actually developing, implementing, as well as participating in them. So that's probably all I want to highlight in that, so thank you.
Thank you. Phil and Glenn.
Thanks for your report, Mary. Like an illustration here of the Kashmir-Worsley Heritage Wall is a great example of how, in fact, our heritage strategy goes much wider than the inner city. And also the nomination of Turanga for an international award. That's really good news. Thank you. What I wanted to ask you about is a question in relation to the Heathcote dredging project, just to ensure, and I'm aware that this is well advanced now, but there's been some concern about the proliferation of very noxious weed growth within this part of the Heathcote, and I just want to ensure that when the dredging is being done, that every care is being taken to ensure that the weeds that aren't there aren't spread through the dredging process.
Yep. I understand work is done on that, but I will follow up and just make sure that is happening. So, yep.
Okay, Glenn.
Thank you, Mary. It's very good to see such a comprehensive report. Something that has caught my eye is the bottom of page 209 over the retuning of the Aranui and Shirley vacuum sewer systems, resulting in the fact that urban development can proceed where before it was held up. So I just wanted to check, I know we have different sewer systems in different places, kind of horses for courses, but whether, I think vacuum is the predominant system in that area. Can I just check with
Dave
through
will
you,
have to answer that for me.
You answer it?
No, it's okay. That's what I said. You'll have to answer that one
Yeah,
for me.
there are areas that we've put vacuum sewers in that are the only system in those areas where we've put them in. And as you know, that came as part of making a more resilient system in areas which are prone to earthquake.
So that's really big news, actually. It's been quite an issue for a while, so I'll feed that back to the community board that we can.
We're doing a lot of work with EQC on the laterals to actually get rid of as much leakage as we can, because basically in some areas where there's been the high groundwater table, we've had a lot of inflow into the systems that have taken up quite a bit of that capacity, and those are the areas that we've said we had to put a moratorium on development for a short period of time while we resolve that. And most of that damage was in private laterals rather than in public laterals. So it's not something that I can do, but we're working very well at the moment with EQC to go into those areas, and we've gone into the high priority areas in that as a first instance.
We might be able to encourage Housing New Zealand to build back more in some of those areas, although there's some flood management issues too. But thank you for that.
Thank you. Jimmy, Yanni, Pauline.
I'm concerned regarding to the customer complaint or the elected member on behalf of those
Can we have a
residents.
page, please, Jimmy?
Oh yeah, but this the overall regarding to the C report. I just don't know how many days will be replied. You know, I just want to know, particularly if the issue is kind of critical or emergency issue, or whether we still follow regular one. Like I, on behalf of the dairy shop, have been intruded by those kind of the burglars. Very serious the damage his shop. I send I forwarded to the CEO of staff on 29th of July. About a week, no any response. Then I also follow up yesterday. The staff told me that, yesterday can give me the additional information, but still no this information. But those kind of the suffering owner, they already installed those rolling door already. They prefer just confirm whether council can help, give the permission to install those bonus or not. I still can get this information for 10 days. I just don't know whether we have policy or process can speed up this progress.
Yes,
I just want.
So I can provide you the full detailed monthly report, if you like, which gives a report back on how many closures we have and what rate and how long CSRs are held up. I will follow up the two that you've mentioned that haven't come in through their CSR, but the CEO office email, and I'll check what's happened to them and get back to you. Okay. And I will send out the monthly report that gives you all the stats around rate of closures.
Yanni?
Just following up on that, there are some CSRs that we don't actually action, so people ring up and they don't get actioned because we don't have the budget for it. So this was raised at Finance and Performance, you'll recall, and I think we are getting some sort of report or memo back, as I understand it, which would be quite good. So it's just a case of telling people when they log a CSR, actually, sorry, we don't, we're not going to follow that up, so that people don't just expect something to happen if it's not going to be done.
So we do, as a course, get back to people. We initially tell them how long we think it will take, and we have a varying time for different things about saying when we think we'll close it, and we do get back to say if something's not going to be resolved. So if there's a few outstanding ones, I'll check up on that in the report.
As I understand it, it's a systemic issue where we don't actually do the work that people have asked for, but there's no loop going back to tell people that when they make the CSR. But
so there should be, but I'll follow up and see what's happening there.
Can I just ask around the just the laterals or the sort of the sewer systems as well? Are we going to get a closeout report on the effectiveness of those new vacuum systems, the pressure systems, and the gravity system?
You intended to a closeout report, Dave?
Basically, we are reporting as part of the part of the 2 monthly report as part of the water that goes to ITI. There's a report on the progress being made on those discussions on the funding of those as we go. The laterals will be, well, it'll be an ongoing issue right forever, really, as obviously private laterals no different to our networks. There will be needing constant renewals of private laterals and whatever, but we do report to the ITI committee as part of the 2 monthly report.
So the areas like in Woolston where we've seen those new systems that were put in failing or having to be have extra work done, how do we get visibility of what that program is, what the budget is, and how it's being funded?
Basically, there's a program sitting within the capital program that, again, gets reported back up as part of the ITI report. Whether it's not a very big program, and most of it actually now is spent reactively rather than proactively, because basically we're getting so much reactive. But again, that is regularly reported up through the 2 monthly Three Waters report.
Right. And just so I'm clear, there's no liability back to central government or SCIT on that. We've inherited that legacy, haven't we? So we just incur the cost.
No, we haven't inherited the private lateral. We're working with central government. One of the issues we're trying to track down is some places there's been a monetary payout and we can't track whether the work was done or whether that money was used for something else. No different to any other earthquake reports, but all I can say is the relationship between us and EQC as we try and track these down is working pretty well at the moment as we try and unravel all of this. We know the number of payments that were made, but we don't actually know whether, how many of those actually went into physical work. So we are working through them, but I would say it will take a reasonable period of time to get into them. And we're running a few trials in some of the worst areas to see what's the best approach. But both of us, central and local government, are working together to find the solution. But we're not taking on financial liability that shouldn't be our financial liability, if that makes sense.
And I just wanted to echo the one of the community board deputations as well, that when you look through the number of events that we have in our local areas and in the city, that a lot of our staff actually work, through the weekend, through the evening. I was at the consultation, over the South Shore, South New Brighton thing in the weekend. So I just wanted to acknowledge that sometimes it's, I think, a little bit invisible, but some of the work that the staff have been doing, engaging with community and supporting these events at all hours of the day and all days of the week. I just wanted to acknowledge that because I think it comes through in this report.
Thank you. Pauline?
Yeah, look, I agree with Yanni there, and I think Phil indicated as well, this is a really good report, and thanks for your words, Mary, because as Yanni said, a lot of the stuff that these staff do behind the scenes is invisible. There's an incredible number of really hard-working people in this organisation that I'm really proud to know, and it doesn't often get reported or seen. But I'd just like to look at page 211 and some pictures there that show us the magnitude of some of the jobs that we're doing, and draw attention particularly to the work that's been going on around Richmond and Petrie, Randall and Stapleton's Road. Some little bits of street renewal work there, and just to report again that the residents in here feeding back through the Richmond Residents and Business Association are incredibly grateful for this work. This is an area that suffered a lot with the Dudley works for the Flockton Basin remediation, the flood works there. They've also had incredible numbers of traffic diverted through this area when Hills Road was being renewed, and that took a couple of years. And these streets were not built for that sort of traffic, and the land underneath is not very substantial to take that sort of traffic. So I just want to feed back on their behalf that they're really grateful for this work, and it is still progressing. And I think also the vacuum sewer issue there, the progress there is actually going to enable, I think, that Housing New Zealand plans to upgrade or do the development in around Shirley there, which has been in the planning for a long time and had community engagement and full backing. So that will be really good if we can see some progress on that. And it would be really nice to get an update on where that's at some point, if somebody could, please. So thank you. Good report.
Thank you. Anne?
Yes, sorry, I agree with everything that people said in terms of the value of the report and the fact that you've really highlighted successes, both from staff perspective but also from the organisation, and I think it shows a real valuing of people, which is fantastic. I just wanted to ask on page 212, I wanted to just comment on the app that allows people to engage with the election process, which I think is fantastic, and just wondering how that's being communicated to the residents in terms of profiling that app.
Right. So across the election this year, we are putting a lot of effort into increasing awareness and turnout, and particularly with some groups that don't participate at the same rates as other groups. So across the community team and the comms team, there's a lot of work, and there's a comms strategy that's going in around that, and this work will really pick up over the next while, particularly informing about the app and also some other activities, the sort of outreach activities, and we can certainly provide an update on that to people and make sure that information is communicated out, so you can have confidence in the organisation that they're running the election process appropriately.
Anyone else? I did want to just pick up on that, the first point that you made about the signing this morning of the agreements with the Community Governance Partnership Agreements. I think it was significant, and I just want to acknowledge all the staff that put a tremendous amount of effort into bringing those together and to working with the individual community boards, reflecting their concerns and their views and bringing it all together. So I just wanted to do that off the back of Mary's report as well.
And I also do want to acknowledge, and I think I did, but want to again on the back of that, acknowledge the amount of elected member effort that went into that, both at a community board level and a council level. So huge commitment to getting that across the line.
All right. So I will. Did we get a mover and seconder? No, not yet. So Phil and seconded by Pauline. I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's